back to another episode of the Women's Health Community Podcast. We are here with our second ever male guest, who happens to have the same name as our first ever male guest. So Matt, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good to see you again. Makes me feel really special to know that I'm the second.
I was saying before we started recording, I feel like every man now that I get on the podcast has to just be named Matt. Otherwise, they're not welcome.
Yeah, 100%. We can get the third happening pretty easily.
We can find one. We can find another Matt. So I start every podcast with 4 questions. The 4th question is different for every single guest. So what is one non-negotiable in your day every single day?
Black coffee.
We were just talking about how much I hate black coffee. What did you want to be when you were growing up?
I don't think I classically had a profession in mind. I think I was
a sport?
No, not even. I think I wanted to be happy. I just wanted to be a happy kid.
Yeah.
And things that brought me joy when I was a kid was playing drums. And I thought that would be something that, but it never had like a goal.
To be a drummer?
Nah. But like it has something I've continued in my life. But yeah, I think that's my answer.
What is your death row meal?
My death row meal, black coffee.
So if you were in jail about to go to the electric chair, you would ask for a black coffee.
I'd ask for a nice long black and some tofu ramen.
Are you vegan?
I am. I'm plant-based, yes.
Well, I didn't know this. But so you wouldn't go all out with like a steak?
No.
Are you vegan for like animal or just
selfishly? I was vegan because of the endurance running I was doing. I used to run with a lot of people that were like twice my age.
Yep.
And they were kicking my backside out on the alien races. And I'm like, how am I like in my 20s getting towed up by like 50-year-old plus? You see a lot of the same similar personalities on different long runs, and you get to spend a lot of hours next to each other struggling. And you just get into conversation. And this lady from New South Wales I saw in Tasmania was like, she was plant-based. And she was like, hey, my recovery's great. All my blood markers are excellent. You know, have you considered this? And I'm like, no.
Really?
Planted the seed. Went and looked into it, tried it, and I honestly don't know whether it's placebo or if it's a legit thing, but like my body reacted so well. I cut down a lot of excess weight, leaned out pretty well, and I think my powers of recovery
has changed.
Went through the roof.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then final question: would you rather never run again or never box again?
Oh,
and we'll go into what this all is later, but answer the question. You have to pick one.
I'm gonna.
And you're gonna piss someone off in the process.
I know. My whole coaching world is about to get ended right here. I'm gonna say never box again.
Really?
Purely because I think about running can take me anywhere. Like I can go exploring anywhere on this earth with my feet.
Okay.
I can with boxing to a different degree, but I think if I had to sacrifice one, it'd be.
You look really sad about it.
I can't believe you did me like that.
I've been waiting. I've had this question ready to go since we locked in this session. I'm like, I'm going to get in with this one. So for those who don't know, how we would introduce each other is you are my husband's boxing coach. So you've been coaching Alex for nearly a year now, I think.
Yeah, I've known Alex for about a year. Alex is a boxer that myself and another coach, Jacob, have been working with. He's an excellent human being, man, and also a boxer all at once. So
I thought you were about wait, Alex or Jacob? Who are we talking about here? No, yeah. So Alex is really wanting me to get into boxing, took me to some of his classes with him, and that's how I met Matt. And now Matt is convinced that 2025 is the year that I become a boxer. So we're actually tomorrow morning doing my first ever boxing lesson, and I'm shit scared for that.
No, you'll 9 a.m. You're on. You're completely fine.
I'm actually nervous. Like I told Alex last night, I was like, I have no wraps. I don't have gloves. What do I wear? And he goes, you can just take my stuff. And I'm like, surely I just cancel.
Well looked after with his gear.
So, I thought you just had a blank then. So you are a boxing coach. How long have you been boxing for?
I've been boxing since I was 18, so that's 21 years this year.
I can't math.
I'm 39, so 21. And then I've been coaching since 2012.
Okay. And do you prefer coaching more or practicing the sport more?
Look, it's been an evolution. I think obviously as you grow up, you'd love just doing it yourself. But as I've matured and sort of like grown in different parts of me, physically and more emotionally and mentally, I actually prefer coaching, to be honest.
Yep. And then as well, you were in more of a group, Alex gets so cut when I say this, a group fitness kind of vibe at the gym that you guys were at. And then you also do your one-on-one. Do you find that you enjoy one more than the other? Whereas like obviously the group thing is more of a community base. It's really much something that we both really are passionate about. Community is such a big thing that you and Jacob work towards, that I work towards. We obviously had our joint event.
Yeah.
Do you prefer doing the one-on-one stuff where it's a bit more technical and like more so like actually teaching, or more the community fun vibey stuff?
I think it's a big spectrum, right? Like if you go from individual through to group, it requires different parts of your coaching skills. If it's individual, we zoom right into the individual needs of athleticism or their mental component, maybe even emotional, whether it's their day one or they're a professional fighter. You hone it specifically to that human. But the group setting is like, it's navigating of many different bodies and emotions and energy systems, which is super fun. I'd say if you made me pick one, I'd probably say I enjoy the workshop style that you've seen me and Jacob and yourself collab on. I think just because my brain wants to target more people.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really interesting as well because, I mean, I rocked up at our event absolutely petrified. Like, I was like to Alex, I was like, these girls could actually knock me out in a second if they wanted to. But you coach a large number of women, which I was really surprised about, in the sense of like, I would always picture boxing to be such a masculine sport that like is really a male dominant. I mean, the whole fitness industry in general is somewhat of a male dominant industry, but boxing more so specifically. Like, prior to Alex getting into it, I would have had no idea that there was such a big female community within that. And you coach a lot of these women and they are like natural born fucking killers. Like,
yeah, and it's really beautiful to hear you recognize that. I think as a coach, probably currently on my roster, I'm probably 80% women.
Wow, yeah.
Maybe even higher probably. Which I did not foresee happening, but it is something that Coach Jake and myself are leaning into. I think patterns and trends in an industry where it's male dominated, let alone a sport that's heavily male dominated. You look at trends, so maybe like loosely up to 2010, there was not such a big female presence in combat sports gyms, specifically boxing. Then I reckon there's been a slow intake, and then, you know, due to the people like Ronda Rousey or like specific boxers like Katie Taylor being more household names coming through, and women going, you know, I'm going to go try this out. Like, yes, it's very intimidating when you watch men just beating each other down. But like once you get through that and you kind of, all I think is I just need to get people in a set of gloves. Then the rest is sorted out. You'll find how strong you feel, how addictive it is, the endorphins, all the chemical sort of overload we get, and how good a training it is across our full body systems, like our cardiovascular versus our musculoskeletal system. But I think what we're seeing is a huge uptake in everyday gyms having more female presence. Probably in memberships, you're probably looking at a 2-to-1 ratio, if not 3-to-1.
Yeah.
On the everyday level.
Yeah.
You still look at the number of entrants in like the national sporting side of Australia boxing, and I did speak to a business in Queensland that housed all the data, and they were like, there's still such a limited amount of entrants going from that everyday to the full competition side of things. But that's still on the progression anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it's a sport that as more people go into it on the day-to-day, that will the downstream effects maybe in 5 or 10 years will sort of slowly burn and build into, which is beautiful to watch.
Yeah. And I think as well, like, you could correct me if I'm wrong, because I mean, obviously UFC is a completely different sport, but it's still somewhat of a combat. It is a combat sport. Yeah. But it's like, I feel like the more that is televised and that is becoming such a big thing within women. I know myself and my girlfriend, Kate, we watch it every Sunday with the boys. Yeah. Like, when the boys go and watch UFC, where they're watching it, we're watching the sport. We're not there just like doing our own thing. And I think the more that happened, the more like people like, I mean, obviously I want to say a little bit different because Alex is so invested in it. I've then naturally just become very invested in it as well. But like people like Joe Rogan and Theo Von and all of these people who are so invested in it, Kill Tony as well, have boxes on it all the time. Like all of these things, like it's just becoming, combat sport is not so much just becoming about hurting someone, but they're becoming personalities as well.
Yes.
Or like Volkanovski or whatever. That's his
Alex Volkanovski. Yeah, of course.
He's not just now a UFC fighter. He's actually someone within Australia that most people would know. So I think the fact that it's becoming so normalized is making women obviously learn about it, understand about it, see the power behind it. And I think shifting separately from like the whole self-defense way and all of this sort of stuff, it's just becoming something interesting. Yeah,
correct. I think it's captivating. And I think it used to be have that fight club sort of vibe, where it was sort of underground kind of the mixed martial arts world and the boxing world maybe 30 years ago.
It was like all rocky. Like
Yeah, it was
you wouldn't really
yeah.
know about it. Like that was all I knew
not unless
about
you
it.
had like a family member or you somehow had someone who opened that door for you specifically. It wasn't televised as much as it is now. Like mainstream media and like personalities, like you said, like these huge household names like Rogan, etc., bringing eyes to the sport. Like there's that YouTuber, he's very controversial, Jake Paul,
Yep.
who's entered the boxing scene. But like
And his brother's in the wrestling.
wrestling, like these personalities really do open the door for a lot of people to find potentially their space in this. I always look at things of pros and cons. They always ask me, do you think he's doing the right thing by the sport? I'm like, look, if he's giving the general public an entry into it and they find a space in it to find health and well-being or a community, I can't knock them.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Like,
And I think as well, him being so Jake Paul being so controversial, it's like, first of all, I do think he's controversial. You're just jealous about the fucking money that he's making from the shit that he's saying.
100%.
Whether the fights are real or not, the guy's fucking loaded. Like he can do it. He can rig these fights if he is or isn't.
Well, he could just design the card that he's putting under his promotional company. And the thing that I have to give him full credit for is boxing and mixed martial arts never got paid a great deal.
Well, this is where I was going.
Now,
like
the paychecks,
he's
getting,
making the sport better for every legitimate, I say in quotes, athlete that is in the sport because he's bringing a brand to boxing.
Yep.
UFC had it. UFC's had it for such a
Yeah,
long
they've been
time.
the leaders probably.
Like they've got the names, they've got the money behind them, they've got the brands behind them, they've got all these things
Yep.
behind them. Boxing, I think, didn't have that.
Not traditionally.
But now it does.
And specifically, if you want to talk about boxing, then separate it into the male entrants versus the women that are now in boxing. Like Jake Paul had Amanda Serrano, who I believe before she got signed to him specifically, she was making like $80,000 a fight. Now he's getting her like $1.2 million contracts.
Yeah, that's
which
insane.
It's leveling up what women are worth to get that equality back to a degree in that the top end of that sport. It's just like anything. You watch the WNBA sort of side of things where 10 years ago the stands were obviously not really that full. Now their games are becoming just as huge, and there's such an energy and a vibe about these sides of the sport because we're well behind the ball, but we're slowly getting eyes to the sides of the
This
sport.
was even like there was a big conversation going on about it with ESPN, and I only know this because one of my girlfriends from Sydney is really big on the swimming.
Yeah.
And they were saying the commentary for the swimming is something of the standard like 30 years ago. And they were pushing to bring it up. And it took one person with a massive following to address it. That change was made. So it's like, yeah, you can be mad or think they're disrespecting the sport in any sport when these big name people do that one thing. But then in the long run, the sport benefits. And it becomes this thing now where your business, as a result of potentially, I mean, this could be a massive exaggeration, but your business as a result of Jake Paul's actions, bringing awareness to this sport, bringing this awareness to this female boxer, then empowering other women to then want to do that and want to learn how to do that, want to learn to defend themselves, want to potentially even look like her.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like, it's really stripping it back that it's like, it's one person that takes to raise this awareness and then all these things as snowball as a result of that.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with you. I think we can throw stones, and humans, we typically do out of, narratives and ego and stuff like, they're ruining, they're bringing, they're lining their pockets. But it's like, once you separate from that and you try and look for the good in something, you're like, man, in any sport across any country, the more people doing it, everyone wins. Like as a collective.
Yeah. The
Which
loser is the person, the one that's sitting there
wants
complaining.
to sit out there and
have a sook
throw
about
stones.
it.
It's
Yeah.
like, mate, you want to come? You done? You want to come in and
Are you ready?
partake? Like,
Yeah,
we're a good crew. Like,
Yeah.
You know?
So now you're saying you're coaching maybe around 80%, potentially more females. Do you find that a lot of them come to you wanting to do like proper fights, or do you think it's more self-defense, or do you think it's more aesthetic? Like, what would you say like would be the main thing? Like,
I'd say with the women that I'm fortunate enough to work with, a lot of them come to me either wanting to learn something new because they've done the same sort of gym routine or the same style.
that's what I want to do.
training,
Yeah. I've been
and then-
training for 11 years now. I'm like, I need to learn something else now. I can do 8 reps at 100 kilos of a deadlift. Like, I can do that with my eyes closed.
100%. And that becomes like not even your baseline. That's just like some warm-up stuff for
Yeah.
you with your strength. But it's like, I think as humans, everything has a timeline, and we plateau and we go through the rigmarole and the cycle of like, we get disengaged. It's hard to keep that flame alive. So as humans, I think we innately want to just learn and grow. And stuff like boxing, where it's, there's not many sports where you know, it's condoned to have contact or actually strike or lash out and punch is quite attractive to the eye. Like immediately, it captivates your attention. And I think what I've seen is a lot of women come to me, they want to learn something new. They want to potentially address their body type. So they're just like, look, I don't want to go and do cardio. I don't want to run. It's like,
Yep.
boxing will get you fitter than most athletes. As you know how hard it is. It's like, there's that. Then there is a large component, I would say, I'd confidently almost say that 2/3 of the women that come and train frequently, after they find their feet in the sport, they get their confidence of the fundamentals. They then go, what's the contact side look like? And you see that glitter in their eye of like, what if? Because there's something to do with just training, hitting pads with a coach and learning. And then there's one to go into the side of like, I need to put this into practice in a real setting, a real controlled setting of sparring, etc., making contact with another human being unchoreographed with all the safety protocols in place, which Jacob and I heavily adhere to.
Yeah, I was just about to say something I really like about yourself and Jacob is that compared to other gyms that I've seen, like before Alex found you guys initially, we were obviously looking at a few other gyms. There weren't many that were doing sparring with mouth guards, with full protective gear, like headgear, groin guards, all of this stuff.
16-ounce gloves.
Yeah, so it's like Alex, I feel like went from 0 to 100 initially, but it was the best possible thing because we have had conversations previously. It's like you're hitting someone. At the end of the day, you're hitting someone. You can do serious damage hitting someone. And I think so many people would go 0 to 20 and then you cop that one hit. That's it. Like you've done
high risk, high reward.
Yeah.
You know?
So I think, like you mentioned, you have such a high focus on the safety element as well as the technical element. It's like you're actually teaching athletes, you're teaching these people to be an athlete in the sport, not just to be another person there swinging a punch, hoping for the best.
There's a difference between fighting and boxing.
Yeah.
And I heavily will stand on the ground of I'm a boxing coach and I teach people to box. It's a sport, first and foremost. It comes with a lot of respect, principles that we need to adhere to through both Jacob and I are registered with Boxing Australia and we work with the Victorian squad. So we adhere to their principles because it's full respect to the sport.
Yep.
If you want to fight, you can do that anywhere. I'm not interested in
Go
entertaining
down King
that.
Street on a Saturday night and you'll be good.
You do whatever you need to do, but I'm not going to partake or back that. So if we're going to be in the arena of boxing, it's like this is where we adhere to, you know. So that's why we have our approach of full safety gear. You have a full understanding of who you're working with. It's all self-development. Nobody wins sparring. You know, it's still a sport. You're still working on what we're good at, predominantly what we're not good at. And you've got to have a lot of trust in the people that are around you and the people that you're sort of learning from. So we really try to set a culture and a community based around these principles. And for the most part, like Alex and that, they just continually come back as they find safety in that. Like, yes, every coach out there in the world can have a different approach. Some might be more relaxed with mandatory gear. Some might be a bit more relaxed in terms of intentional or conditional sort of sparring opposed. But Jacob and I just have a specific approach about how to get people in the sport, keep them safe, keep them learning and progressing, keep them engaged. And that's probably our duty of care pretty much first up.
Yeah. I do have a bit of a question though. It's a bit of a tangent still on the same side of things. Within bodybuilding, it's very the people who quote unquote see themselves at the top of the sport, who have competed at elite federations, gone overseas, done shows, all of this stuff. When they see new people come up in the sport, potentially not at the standard that they would expect, there's this almost shame upon this new person being like, you're diminishing the sport, the eliteness of the sport, all of this stuff. As yourself, as someone who has had quite an extensive boxing career, you've done your fights. Have you won titles? I don't know.
No.
I don't really know how this whole thing works.
No.
But you've had your fights, you've had a career, and now you're at the level of coaching it. When you see people coming up from potentially a new standpoint, so say, look, I don't picture me ever sparring. Like, that shit scares the fuck out of me. We say this now. It's on record. Like, 19 minutes into the podcast is on record. But, like, so say we start working together for 6 months, then I say, all right, I think I am ready.
Yep.
Would you, as someone who coaching me from a beginner to then potentially the point of sparring and then maybe doing a fight card, whatever, that natural progression, do you see those people as people, even though they may never be the elite of the sport, do you see that as diminishing the boxing standard, or do you see it as just another person partaking in the sport and not everyone has to be the best of the best?
Yeah, I definitely am the opinion of more participants in the sport safely. You can enjoy boxing to whatever level you choose to invest in and step to. Us coaches, myself, anyone else that you work with, it's our duty of care to teach you everything we can. We can't get through the ropes with you when you compete, even when you spar. We can walk you to the corner, but once you go in there, it's on you and how you perform. I'm happy. I love working with people really testing themselves, which I think boxing does. It gives you not only a physical test, which is quite strong, but it also shows us parts of our personality and our emotional side, which I think is the hidden test, which we all love and we all kind of get addicted to, because there's so much happening in the sport. It's such a highly emotional space. So I think I like to see people test themselves, and I'll support them safely to the level they get to. In terms of like the elite and diminishing that sort of part of it, I can sit here with you and we can put on like a world championship fight and we can highlight poor fundamentals. We can highlight poor technique, poor emotional behavior, because we're humans at the end of the day, right? Just because they're the elite, they might be world champions, doesn't mean that they may be what quote unquote is classically the best looking boxer in the world. So this is the thing I love about humans.
Yeah. So this is, I'm very much on the same side of you. Obviously, I'm going into my third show competing with bodybuilding. And I'm very much in the world of, I love following the high level the high level athletes, the bikini athletes. I'm really big on this. I love it. It's always going to be something that I'm passionate about. But then you look at the top people in the world who just won, like Miss Bikini Olympia who just won. She's never had a successful reverse phase after her show. She loves to eat. She loves to gain weight. She's not quote unquote perfect. But then I look at these maybe potential middle tier people who are under her that are like hate the new people. And it's just this really weird separation. It's just this really weird dynamic. And I was wondering, because I know that it happens across all sports. You could look at, we had a runner, a girl who went to the Olympics to run, Ebony. She was on the podcast. Same thing happens in that sort of sport. I'm sure it happens across boxing.
Yes, there's always going to be purists and people that want to see like unity, so to speak, in that. But
the exclusivity in the sport, like it's this is ours, you can't join it. I'm just like, what is going on? Like, when did any form of physical movement become an exclusive club that you had to like qualify to be in?
Yeah, exactly.
It really burns my blood. Like, it makes me so physically angry that like I could hit someone.
9 o'clock tomorrow.
9 o'clock tomorrow. I'm going to be getting my anger out.
Very good.
Watch out, Matt.
But I think that's the beauty of just accepting. I don't know, maybe it's just I'm getting older. I just love the fact that we're all different. 8 billion of us on the planet. You, I, anyone else that want to box, or if you taught me how to lift anything, we're always going to do it slightly in our own fashion. You know, we can all teach the fundamentals, but how my frame does it versus yours, I think the uniqueness of us makes things really beautiful. Some of the best combat sports athletes are more quote unquote the unorthodox ones, you know, that do very well because things aren't of a cookie cutter design.
Yeah, and it's just everyone's personality, everyone's take on something.
100%.
Like how you would, like you said, how I would lift something, how you would lift something, how you would throw a punch, how I would throw a punch would be so different. But it's just like, that's the whole point. Like that is literally the point of being your own person on this planet.
Celebrating how you do whatever you choose to do.
It's insane to me that people still forget that and almost like dismissing the fact that everyone is on their own timeline, everyone is on their own
sort of path
like to do what they want to do, how they want to do it. Like, it's just really interesting to me that in 2025 people still haven't grasped that concept.
Still getting caught up in like tripping over the small stuff. And I think like if we find something at the age of 30 when someone's been training since the age of 3, like you just referenced, and once you get to something in your own time, like I feel like that's just what we need to champion. Just be like,
and it's celebrate other people.
Yeah.
Like, this is something I'm really big on. It's like, well, why are you not celebrating that person? What do you got deep down?
What questions do we need to ask?
Like, what do you need to ask yourself right now to be able to be like, well, why can't I celebrate? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't like my husband. He wants to do a fight night. When he's ready, he's like, when my coaches tell me I'm ready to do it, I will do it. Not when people are pushing me to do it to get the money out of me, but when I am technically ready, when our timeline is perfect. We're going away for 3 weeks in September. His timeline isn't ready. So he's very set on it. But it's like, people could then look at him and be unable to celebrate him for doing something. But it's like, what do you need to ask yourself to be like, well, why can't you celebrate this guy doing something for himself that he's worked so hard towards? It's like, it's this disconnect that people have, and it's like they're so quick to judge, but then so unable to reflect back and be like, what's going on?
Actually, what is the underlying thing that's spurring me to feel these things, let alone act on these feelings.
Have
Like-
you ever experienced anything like that within your own career? Or do you think you've been like the one little blessed cookie that like never
100%.
has to do?
I'm a complete unicorn. No, I'm sure, like, as a human being, I'm built with the same emotions and everything, or especially previous versions of myself that hadn't been so mature. I used to be a little hot-headed. I used to be pretty stubborn. I would probably have had moments where I've looked at things and gone and had a moment. And now I probably, if I could watch myself externally, be like,
You're a fucking
you
idiot.
kid, come on now. Like,
Yeah.
so I think that's the beauty in growing up. We all have to admit fault and that
Oh,
and we're our
definitely.
flaws, right? Like this
But
is,
it's like, it also takes a level of like self-awareness to be like, I'm not perfect. I can literally.
that's scary to a lot of people.
But it's like, it also is so liberating in a sense of like, to
ownership.
actually understand that you've made mistakes, to own the mistakes, to have someone address a mistake to and be like, yeah, actually I did do that.
Yeah.
Like, it's like once you do that and once you can accept that, you become such an unapologetic version of yourself
Yes.
to then be able to try new things, to do new things, to live a new way, to go against the social norm. It's like, I potentially don't have the biggest platform and I've been running a podcast now for nearly 6 months. I love it. And it's like, people could look at that and be like, oh, who does she think she is? It's like, well, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly my purpose. I know exactly my plan for this podcast. It's like, why can't you just be happy and like
Exactly.
move on?
What is it that's irritating this in you?
Yeah.
Like it's that whole progress over perfection vibe. It's like we can't really perfect things and keep it that way. Especially as humans, it's always an intentional effort to just keep growing.
Yeah.
You're going to do well over here and drop the ball over here. Then you go back to readdress over here and this slides. It's like a constant juggling act, right? And that's, as you said before, once we make peace internally, like of this kind of vulnerability, it feels a lot different,
Yeah.
you know?
And I think as well, it just strips back the idea of perfection.
Yeah.
Like in
100%.
anything, in any sport, in any person's human timeline, in
Yep.
anything, like perfection isn't a thing.
No. And these narratives we hold of like perfection, maybe unrealistic standards or expectations on ourselves, maybe they came from other places like parental sort of environments or previous environments we've been in. That's okay. It's to be aware and then try and rewire and be kinder and be like, it's okay. Progress can be whatever we need it to be.
Yeah.
You know?
It's so interesting that like, as well, I think, like you said, social media, it's just such a, I mean, we hear it all the time and I fucking hate it. It's the highlight reel. I'm like, ew, it's so gross. Because what am I going to do? Post an ugly photo of me online? Like, absolutely not.
Just post a real photo.
Like, I would post a real photo. I'm pretty good at doing
Yeah,
that.
you comfortable with that?
But I'm like, I'm not going to intentionally go and post a photo where I don't like how I look.
You don't feel comfortable with yourself. Yeah.
No, I don't feel comfortable with myself. But I'm like, if my double chin's peaking, like, I'm not posting it. Reality
Sure.
is like, so it's like, it's yes, a highlight reel in a sense, but it's also what other like, I'm posting good photos of myself, quote unquote, but I'm also not shying away from being like, I'm going through something or
Hey,
I'm
still
struggling.
a real human being.
Yeah, like I think I do that quite well. Like, obviously there's always things you don't share,
Of course.
but then also it's like people consuming that forget that it's also a human posting behind the highly edited
grid.
reel of
Yep.
like flashing fucking images from me when I was stage lean in Texas. Like,
For 9 seconds.
for 9 seconds, that 9 seconds can literally derail someone's entire day though. And it's like, there's this, people then think like that's that perfection piece, but it's like, there's a whole life there.
That's amazing when you really sit with this alone and be like, take your experience, like you 12 and a full year of your life training, dedicating the hours that
It was
no
like
one sees.
Last year was 36 weeks of dieting. This week it's 26 weeks. This year, sorry, is 26 weeks. Like,
You whittle down
that's
the result to a photo or a 9-second reel
to
or
half
story.
a day of me getting on a stage.
Wait a minute, like so much of your experience will not even be seen or understood by people. And like, I have a love-hate relationship with social media, like probably most, and I post my one-on-one sessions with consent with the boxer, and I actively put in more of the bloopers of us laughing, stuffing up, because it shows that human-centered approach as opposed to everyone looks like a straight killer, which these women are, and the couple
They
of them.
look like killers
100%.
regardless if
However-
they miss a punch or
However,
not. Yeah.
I want people to go,
It's more than just the
oh, wait a minute.
seriousness.
Yeah, that person's stuffed up. He's laughing. They're laughing. Like it looks more inviting than I can't be that.
Yep.
that, and then putting more distance between something that could have been really good for that person.
Yeah. I think that's also something we found out when we did our event together. We had a lot more of your community come where they're already in that industry. We did have a few girls come from my live event and stuff like that, which they loved it. They ended up reaching out to me and being like, it was amazing. Like they were scared walking in, and they were like, once I started it, my phone is going off. Once they started the session, they started speaking to the other girls. They didn't know anyone there. They had a really good time. But I think potentially the error that I made or that we made, whatever, however we want to label it, is the fact that it looked very intense.
Yeah, 100%.
It looked like it was going to be for experienced boxers only.
Of course.
Girls who had been in the sport for so long, which, look, majority of them were, but it's also a space for them. It's not just a space for new people.
Exactly.
Like, it was for everyone. And I think because it is a combat sport, if I was to promote that we're doing a HIIT workout,
it would be received differently.
it would be so differently.
Yeah,
and it's
100%.
Yeah, so it's like you said, social media is just like this, it open to interpretation in any way, and it's not always received the way that we want it to be perceived.
Of course.
Whereas like we wanted it to be for your community as equal as my community, but obviously there was a miss in the sense of like I didn't think that it would be interpreted differently to the way I intended.
100%.
Yeah, but it's interesting. Like, it's an interesting concept that people.
I love the thought of like building community, and you're right. Like, we used the original footage of the first workshop, which had 20-something women, and if you look at it if you give it the eye test online, you've never been in boxing. Yes, very intimidating. It gives a very strong presence. If you speak to these women who are in these workshops, some of them have been boxing for a week. Some of them have had a few fights. They all train the same fundamental drills side by side. They all work together, but you won't get all of that information just in a 10-second
I didn't get that
reel.
until I started speaking to them. Some of them had only been doing it for a few months.
Yes.
One girl I was partnered with at one point had done a few fights. And I was just like, I'm like, guys, this is literally like my third ever time wearing boxing gloves. Like, and I was definitely the newest one there, but it's really nice to see, even from our event, even from the group classes that you did, girls who were new, like myself when I went, was training exactly the same as people who had been there for 5 years. I spoke to one girl at the group classes when I first ever came who had just finished her training camp. Then equally, I'm training the same as the guys. I'm training the same as the guys who are about to fight in a week's time. There's no division in standard or no division in how you're treated or how you're training from a day one to a day million.
Yeah, exactly. The approach to any boxer that walks in is exactly the same. You could be day one and you could be a world champion, and we're going to make you do the same thing.
Yeah.
Which I think is beautiful. And it goes full circle. Like the highest part of the sport do the fundamentals on an elite level, but it comes through just constant repetition and dedication. And you can stand next to each other non-verbally, and you can see aesthetics and movement patterns that may look a lot cleaner, but for the most part, you're like, everyone's just
doing the same
stuff. Lead hand jab.
Yep.
You don't know anyone's experience in the room.
Well,
we just know what we're feeling in our head.
Well, yeah, my head was like, you look like a fucking idiot.
However, how did you feel, if I can ask you?
Yeah.
You saw the footage of yourself drilling a couple of times throughout.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm getting it back. He hasn't finished editing it yet. I'll be getting it back soon, but Alex was at the event and he kept popping his head in and I yelled at him every time he looked at me. I'm like, fuck off. Like, don't look at me, because he's like, stand like this, stand like this. I'm like, piss off. Like, let me just be awkward and do it myself. But I think myself, like, regardless of how I felt after, the level of respect that I was shown when people could visibly see that I actually didn't know what I was doing. And Coach Jacob at the start, he was intentionally trying to do shit to confuse people, and he's saying all of these numbers, and I'm literally at one point looking at him like, I actually have no idea what you're saying.
I'm not here for a math lesson, mate.
Like, I didn't know what was going on. Like, everyone was like shadow boxing, doing their like punching and all this sort of stuff, and I'm literally looking at him like, I have no fucking clue what's going on right now. But it was just not a deal. Like, it wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
And the girls next to me were laughing. The girls in front of me were also equally as confused. Like, it was just, there was no like care factor for the fact that I didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
Yeah. So those sort of strategic things where we try to bull or miss sort of guide people just to alleviate that tension in the room. And if
Well,
you
he
can
did
see,
it really fucking
if you can see
quickly.
everyone laughing, then next minute your shoulders come down. A little
Yeah.
bit. And you're not the only one maybe sweating bullets about I'm lost.
Yeah.
You might have 20 to 30 women then going, we're all confused.
Yeah.
And Coach Jacob's just there like,
Got him. He was like, I'm the best.
then once we're relaxed,
Yeah.
we'll actually not only move better, but we'll learn better.
Yeah. And I think, like I mentioned, like myself and then being partnered with a girl who, I don't know if you remember what she was wearing. I remember she was in orange shorts, quite tall girl. She's done a few fights before.
Orange shorts.
Oh, I don't know her name. I
I'm
kind
going
of
to go back through the footage and have a look.
Yeah, you
I will know as
you
soon
will
as I see
know
her.
her. And she's told me she's done 2 fights previously.
Okay.
She has done sparring with Alex before, so he has told me about her before.
Okay.
And she's like just
Tall?
very tall,
Amanda.
probably.
Oh, I think it might be Amanda.
Okay, well, Amanda,
She's
if you're listening to
excellent.
this, you scared the fuck out of me, but you were really nice, so thank
Beautiful
you.
woman, excellent boxer.
Yeah, so, but like the level of respect that I was shown as someone who I would consider highly above me, it was just so nice. And I'm like, you don't always receive that response from people, but I'm finding the more Alex is getting involved in the boxing community, then I'm naturally gravitating towards it as well. It is just, despite being such a physical combat sport, it is just like any other community, like any other gym, like any other space. It's just the actual practice is different.
Yes.
You're not lifting weights from A to B. You're moving your hand from A to B.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
know, it's like any netball club. It's like any soccer club, basketball, any sport we choose to try our hand at. It's
Yeah.
exactly the same.
What would be like your number one advice for a girl specifically? Like obviously majority of the women, people listening to this are women. What would be some advice that you would have for them if they are wanting to either get involved in boxing or they keep like bailing on classes or something because they're just too scared to go? Like, would you be like, go with a friend, or would you be like, just suck it up? Or like, what would you?
I would say first off, lean into that curiosity.
Yeah.
Find a space that you think you can see yourself in. Yes, the buddy system is excellent. If you can take someone that you know, that's going to alleviate a little bit of that kind of day one nerves, which sticks around for many months in learning anything, especially boxing. It's not going to alleviate unless you're a certain personality. I would say lean into that because we quite often talk ourselves out of things. It could be really good for our lives, mentally or physically, or both. Take a buddy, try and find a place that looks like you can see yourself. As I said, if you look at anything that to do with Jacob or myself, there's a heavy women presence, and that could be what you're looking for. If you're looking for more of the registered system, we'll always push you into and give you options of rooms and go like, that could be a great gym for you. With this, connecting dots is a beautiful thing as a community. We might not be the coaches for everybody, but the more we get around other people, the more we can find space.
Yeah.
So lean into that initial attraction to something.
Yeah, and just do your research. Even with Alex, though, like before he found the gym that he was initially at, I went to like multiple different things with him because he wasn't wanting to go by himself. So we went to do he was looking at initially a one-on-one coach. So he's like, oh, can my wife and I come? So I went with him. I'm like, I had no intention of ever doing a boxing, never signing up, anything. It was just, I was just there for him.
Sport.
And especially if like you're listening to this and potentially your partner or your best friend and you know that they want to do it and you know that they are scared to do it, be that person for them.
Yep.
You don't have to have the intention of joining. You don't have to have the intention of signing up, but you could be the person for them that changes their life.
And what a beautiful, that didn't come to my head first and foremost. So I really love that you said, go with your partner.
Yeah.
Because I think there's nothing better than
hitting your partner in the head.
Well,
I think my first lesson.
That's not what I was going to say, but I do like that.
No.
I do like that. It's condoned. It's good. You can work things out between yourselves. But I think really championing your partner and being that number one support person is also so healthy for the relationship.
Yeah. And it's definitely so Alex and I would say are I want to say unique. Obviously, my relationship is my favorite relationship ever. But for him, he will support me. He's traveled with me to America. He's traveled with me to Brisbane to compete. Who am I as a wife now? I was a fiance when we did this. I was a girlfriend when we first ever competed. Who am I now as his wife to not support him as equally as he supported me? To give him an hour of my time when he gives me a month of his time to go overseas. Yeah. So it's like, if I can do this one small thing for him and me going to this one-on-one coach who I thought was the most psychotic person I have ever met in my life. Like, this guy was yelling in my face. I'm like, you are scaring the actual fuck out of me. Like, please stop. But like, for him to try that coach out, to see if he liked that coach, it didn't work out. So we went to a next one. I think we ended up doing 3. And I was like, who am I to not give him 3 hours of my time? And it's such a simple way to give back. And I think as well, if you're giving it back to a friend or like a partner or anyone, it's such a simple way to show your support and show that you care.
Just to show up for them and be like, this is your thing. I'm happy to stand beside you, behind you, whatever you need. Like, this is the whole part of relationships. You're committed to a life you're building together. And yes, you've got independence and autonomy and go, this is my things and he's got this and his things, but like they don't silo, you know? You're always going to have overlap of things and you're going to benefit we all benefit from our partners being happy, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, like even for him, like he moved states. So we were in Sydney prior to living in Melbourne. He needed an outlet. He needed something. Yes, he had his soccer. He's been coaching for so many years, but he needed something else. And when I say hand on heart, like the happiness I see in him and the growth and the passion that I see in him, one, it's fucking attractive to have a partner who wants to look after themselves and wants to care about their health. But then also to be so passionate about something that they want to teach you. Like, guys, I could fucking tell you half the shit that he does in his one-on-one sessions, that he does about this boxer, about this drama, about this. I'm like, I could tell you it all, but it's so nice to have a partner who is passionate about something. And I think it's just such an underrated thing, but it's a two-way street.
How beautiful, hey, to watch our partner just light up and just want to drown us in information. Like, they almost cannot get the words out quick enough.
I'm really exposing him here. He's probably going to listen to this episode.
Love him. It's fine.
But it's like every night before we go to bed, we'll be in bed, and our thing is we'll watch TikTok together on his phone.
Cool.
His algorithm is all boxing.
Good man.
I'm like, skip. And I'm like, but he's so passionate about it, and it's just really only within like the last year, really. Like, we haven't even been living in Melbourne for that long, but it's just changed so much of who he is and and I see it with other women as well. Like, there's a lot of bodybuilders who do boxing in their off season or all of these things, and it's just so like consuming, but in a really positive way of it's transforming outside of just physique and outside of just X amount of reps for 3 sets. Like, it's really, it's a unique sport, and the more I learn about it, which is why my interest is growing about it, which is why I agreed to do a session tomorrow morning. But I think, it's just such a different world.
It's an interesting thing to watch major sports integrate it into their training systems. Like, you watch a lot of elite sporting clubs in other fields use boxing as a component for conditioning.
Yeah.
I also train a couple of high-level bodybuilders that are in their off-season or their early stages where they're kind of cutting. They do sort of gentler boxing because it's very good for their system, and it's complementary to what your main goal is.
Well, if my shoulders look like any of the female boxers that I see on stage, I'll be like, sweet, I'll take it.
Yeah, I think it produces a very certain type of athleticism in a certain way, and it's a beautiful sport.
Yeah.
Like,
the more I learn, the more I'm curious about it, and my curiosity is a really dangerous thing because I act on it always.
Rabbit hole straight in.
Like, I'll be in. Like, Alex and I are very much a 0 to 100 kind of couple. Like, we don't do things half-ass.
Love it.
Like, he's looking at the most elite level gear. I'm looking at like the most elite level shows or the most elite, like, it's insane. Like,
go hard.
My curiosity is really dangerous because give me like 4 years and I could be like on TV in a boxing fight and you'll be like, I did that.
I love people's mindset because why play small?
No, I'm not doing
in any
anything
professional,
to be like
personal, like relationships, careers, anything you want to time and be intentional with, and be like, go all in, like go hard, swing for the fences. Because Alex is the walking example of this, and we can see. Let's have a whole podcast about this guy because we love him. His passion has driven his progression, and it's married with his dedication, which you guys have just said you're all in. There's probably no one else that's more dedicated than him. He turns up. He's always asking high level questions. He's incredibly coachable, and you can see the passion he has for it. That's just predicting his progression because he's intentionally going, I'm all in on it.
And I think it's something to say, like, regardless of him, like, we've literally spoken about him for 45 minutes about how much we're obsessed with the guy. Clearly, I fucking married him. But, like, it goes to say as well, like, if you're someone who is new at something, don't be afraid to go all in.
Exactly.
Like, Alex had never boxed or done a boxing lesson before until he found the right gym, and then he's now not a beginner anymore, I wouldn't say. But it's like, who is to say that because he isn't elite at the start, he can't become that? And I think it comes back to this whole thing of like, the high level people aren't the ones that are saying he can't. It's the mediocre people who are upset about that they're not the high level that are doing all of this stuff.
Yes.
So I think it's to say, like, if you're interested in something, like you said, go for it.
Yeah.
Don't let people's projections of their insecurities limit what you're capable of.
Yeah. Why play small? Like, yes, the externals are always going to have their opinion. There's always going to be voices. There's always going to be eyes on us. If we can narrow away from that and be like, if I was going to do something new and I could do it in a small capacity for 5 years, or I can do something new and I can go 100% in and I can get the rate of progression into 12 months. Why wouldn't you do
Why
that?
wouldn't you do
Why
it?
wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
You know?
It's
There's many factors to it, but like
Yeah.
I'm always just telling people, lean in, go hard. You know, what's the worst?
the worst is you stop.
Yeah.
Or
Or
you
you
go
learn a
straight
lesson
back,
and be
yeah.
like, oh, that wasn't for me. Okay,
Yeah.
well, at least I spent maybe 6 months doing it instead of maybe X amount of years.
4 years,
I don't
yeah.
know.
Yeah. Well, talking about going all in, let's talk about some of the crazy things that you're doing,
Oof.
because like I mentioned to you when you started, we were talking about you on Easter dinner, and I literally called you insane, and I was shook, and I was
It's a
like,
compliment.
I would never do it. At least you take it as a compliment, because I definitely was like, this guy, I don't even know. So this weekend, is it?
This Saturday I've entered a run, which I did call a training run as a part of a bigger picture because
Okay, so brace yourself.
So
He said training run.
Yeah.
This isn't the run.
So this run it starts at 4 p.m. on Saturday in Fairfield. It's on the hour. Every hour you run 6.71 kilometers. You get back whatever time you get back at the finish line, because it's a circular motion. You get as rest, and you just go on the hour every hour until you can't do it anymore. And there's 68 current entrants.
Should I just rock up and do it, and I do one lap and then quit?
If you want.
I tried to.
That's probably gonna hurt.
I ran a K at the gym the other day. I was like, holy fuck, like how did I run 15 Ks last year? I can't even do a K anymore.
Yeah, so it's going to be a part of another bigger picture, but I'm running it, and my good friend and I are running it together, and she's like, we've got a mission to run 10 laps.
Okay, so 10 hours.
Yeah, roughly. And then if we are feeling good at the end of 10, we'll max out at 12, which will be about 80 kilometers, which is about a 2 a.m. finish.
Wow.
So it starts at 4 p.m. You run on the hour. It should go after midnight. We're capping ourselves at 12 laps, roughly 80 Ks.
So you wouldn't actually, if you felt good, you wouldn't go further?
I'm under strict instruction. I'm not allowed to go any further.
Oh.
I think the winners of the similar event last year went into their third day, which is about 350 kilometers.
Speechless.
I think so.
That's wild.
It's just wild. It's until the last runner is left alone. So the last two will whittle it down.
Okay.
So, and this is all part of a training scheme because in June, on June 20th, I'm running for 24 hours on a treadmill in a hospital for the Mercy Perinatal Hospital.
Oh.
So my friend Dee, or Diana, who's running with me on Saturday, she had beautiful twins very early at about 30 weeks.
Oh,
And this
wow.
hospital were incredible support, not only for the baby's health and development, but also specifically for her,
Yeah.
physically and also her well-being
Yep.
mentally. So every year since then, I think the twins are maybe 6 or 7 now, and
Oh,
they're
wow.
incredibly beautifully healthy. Everything's perfect, but this hospital has been an incredible staple. So watching Dee being supported every year, she does running events. Last year was 7 marathons in 7 days. She's done an Everest challenge where we was about 135 Ks over Mount Dandenong over 2 days. This one was like 24 hours on the treadmill in the hospital.
Wow.
So she's running 24 hours on one. I'm next to her running 24 hours on another.
You don't stop?
No stopping.
How do you
Bathroom breaks allowed, and then potential gear change if we need to change out shoes. But then
or
you're
like
back on.
food while you're running?
Fuel on there for the most part. Wow. Yeah. So 24 hours in the one spot in a hospital. And there's 10 treadmills. The other 8 are reserved for anyone who wants to come down, walk, jog, run with us.
Okay.
So you can come be a part of it. So I've got like my little nephew, he's like 13, he's going to come and run with us.
Stop, that's cute.
Yeah, so like we're running from midday Friday to midday Saturday. So it is overnight. It's
Okay.
going to be 24 hours on a treadmill.
Wow.
So this weekend is just getting conditioning,
Yeah, getting
running
your
fatigues,
Ks on the
going
legs,
to go again. So I'm doing a lot of running, but like dropping the pace, extending the distance.
Yeah.
So this is a great little, I say little, but it's not. This is a great sort of stepping stone into what we're trying to do.
Yeah. So when we first entered the room, I said my plan of attack would be run the 6.8 Ks as fast as I could and then take as much rest as I could.
Yep.
You said that was a bad plan. What is your plan for this?
I don't have one.
Oh,
I think I'm gonna go with you and go. I'm gonna get it done and try and maintain getting back with maybe what feels like a 15-minute window.
Okay.
Maybe, but then I got no idea. So David Goggins had a run called the 4-4-48, which I've done a couple of times. It's you run 4 miles, which is 6.4 Ks every 4 hours for 48 hours.
Oh,
And you
that does not sound fun.
Well, it's a little bit gentler because you get like 3 hours off in between, but that became harder in the back end because you can't sleep. You know, you got to go back again out in like a couple of hours, and it's a bit. The sleep deprivation actually.
Who was the guy? I've forgotten his name that did the one in Sydney Olympic Park. And
he's like, Ned Brockman.
Yeah, and that was something that he was complaining about too. The hardest part for him was the not sleeping.
Yeah, that guy's another. He's not human. I swear to God.
He's like, to me, like, so this is really interesting because, like, to me, anything running related, anything Ironman related, anything endurance athlete training related is insane. People would look at me who was dieting for 36 weeks. I'm like, that's fucking easy.
I look at you and go, that's insane.
That's easy.
I'm not measuring out my salt.
Like, yeah. Well, that's a whole other fucking topic. But like, to me, dieting doesn't require like endurance level training. Like, to run for 48 hours.
But what I see in your world is that
I sleep 9 hours a night peacefully, uninterrupted.
I look at you with like an ultra level of discipline.
Look, mindset-wise, I would say would be extremely unmatched. Yeah. I can confidently say that when I'm locked into something, I'm locked into something, and like there's no wavering of that. Like I've had people tell me, "Oh, just give up. Like don't even do it. Like why do you have to do it again? Just stop now." I'm like, "No, like I've said I'm doing it." There is probably the only thing that would stop me from competing would be my health.
Yeah.
And if my health for some reason
is compromised, sure.
Done. Yep. I would not compromise that, and I also wouldn't compromise my chances of becoming a mum. Yes. And I've been always very open about that. But for me, cutting back the amount of fucking carbs I'm eating and eating 120 grams of rice instead of 180 grams of rice does not equate to running for 48 hours.
How crazy. I would not want to reduce my calories.
Yeah, see? It's choose your hard. Choose your hard, really. Exactly. It's like what's hard for me is running 6Ks. I couldn't even... That would be the hard part, let alone every hour on the hour or running for 24 hours. Like, it's crazy.
It's funny how we put ourselves in environments and that becomes quote unquote comfortable.
Yeah.
We're okay with that versus another form of sacrifice or quote unquote suffering.
Well, yeah.
Self-suffering to be like, yeah, that's hard.
But it's really crazy as well because you can look at like, we could get maybe another 2 people on either side of us here. Their goals as opposed to this person's goals, they would think that we're crazy. 100%. Then they would think that we're crazy. And it'll just be this whole thing of like everyone within different areas of sport, within competitiveness, who have that mindset of, I want to be good at something and I want to achieve something. And I think it potentially does take a unique kind of person to want to be the best or want to hold themselves to the best standard that they can. Yeah. That takes a unique person in itself and a unique mindset in itself. But then you get 4 people like that in a room, even ourselves, 2 people in a room. And it's what our heart is, regardless of the standard that we're trying to hold ourselves to. Yep. Our heart is so different. Like, I could never imagine being in that position. And you probably would look at me and be like, that fucking sucks.
Yeah, 100%. You can have that.
You can have your run and I'll have my run.
I admire your discipline. It's wild.
Yeah, but it's just really, it's really a nice thing to celebrate all these different forms of movement, and there's no right. I'm not right because I compete or I go to the gym and I don't do really any kind of cardio training other than what's prescribed to me. Yep. You're not right because you only run and do your boxing coaching.
I'm down this end of the pendulum.
It's just there's no right and wrong, and I think it's when this blend of both come together to be able to be like, well, why can't everyone be right?
Why can't we all just be happy?
Yeah.
Like this is the thing we're talking about before, celebrating just being human and going, even if we were doing the same things, we wouldn't probably do it the same way. Like fuel intake versus training loading versus anything. it's all going to be individual for the person doing
Yeah.
it. As long as someone is doing something they're passionate about, like you talk about Alex's boxing, I will stand there and give a standing ovation all day and be like, you do you.
Yeah.
I'm stoked.
I feel like the more I like grow within the fitness industry in general, my whole mindset has become, if I'm not hurting anyone and I'm not doing anything bad to anyone and I'm staying true to myself,
Play on.
I don't care.
Yeah. I think that's really funny. I was having a chat last night to my partner and we were talking about just the narrative or concept of do no harm, you know?
Yep. And even as a coach, and I think this is, like, I went on a rant about this yesterday, but it's this massively underrated thing where as a coach, my job is to treat my clients with the utmost respect for the human, not just the goals that they want to achieve, and fucking benefit their life, not be an added stress.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think so many people forget that as like, as coaches ourselves, it's like, do no harm, literally.
Yeah, like
It's
we
like the
can
number one thing that you're told to
the
do.
duty of care is to actually better the situation or in our case, the athlete or the person. It's like we can get an end goal of a time or a number, but at what cost?
Yeah.
You know, and if we play in the wrong field, we can do a lot more damage. So I have a big opinion on like data-driven stuff and training to learning to listen to our body. But as coaches, like I love that you just like it's about the human.
Yeah.
It's a human-centered approach.
Yeah, it's something I'm noticing a lot more and I'm having a lot more females open up to me about is that coaches just have pure neglect. And I'm like, especially within a combat sport, neglect can equal fucking brain damage for someone, honestly. Like, as dramatic as it sounds, like, it is true.
I have strong opinions I'm starting to see as I venture out into sport and see different styles and be like, there's a level of care that we need to take specifically around head impacts and the downstream effect and long-term health conditions that could arise purely from having an entry-level enthusiast, everyday level of the sport. Like coaches need to take a lot of responsibility and duty of care to the people that we're helping to be in the sport.
Yeah.
It can dictate a lot.
Yeah.
You know? Same with lifting. A lot of lumbar spine issues.
Literally.
I'm assuming.
Producer Alex literally had spine surgery.
You know.
So love that for him.
Yeah.
But all right, I have one final question for you.
Shoot.
For all your female athletes that you coach, everyone you've ever worked with, when can they expect to come and watch you fight in the future?
Fight? I'm too old for that. I'm done. I stopped fighting in my 20s. However,
will the comeback happen?
You never say never.
He's blushing. It's happening.
You never know. You never know.
You never know? We're not giving a date?
There's interest there. There is a lot of interest there. I love my body.
Well, what did you say? If you've got interest, run with it.
I'm grateful for what my body can still do, and you never know.
Very short and
Good
sweet.
question. You got me.
Well, I think we'll wrap that up there. Thank you so much, Matt.
Thanks for having
I'm
me.
nervous for my session tomorrow. Probably will cancel on you half an hour before.
I know where you live. I'll come and get
fair. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you share this episode with someone who you think will enjoy. And with that, we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Big love.